Hello, Mansi ma'am, am I audible clearly? Welcome Sarita, welcome Sushil. The time we wait for the participants to join, and Sushil, you can go through our social media platforms, meetup communities. I've shared the link in the chat box. And the time we wait, you can also redeem your learning achievement badges. I've shared the link in the chat box. Hang tight, we'll start the session in next few minutes. Welcome Anand, welcome Joe, welcome to the session. The time we wait for the participants to join, go through our social media platforms and our meetup communities. Also, do redeem your learning achievement badges. I've shared the link in the chat box. So, anyway, we'll start the session in a few minutes. Hello everyone, welcome to this session. We are waiting for participants to join. We'll wait for 5 more minutes and then we'll start the session. Till the time we wait for participants to join, go through our social media platforms and our meetup communities. I've shared the link in the chat box, and you can also do redeem your learning achievement badges. I've shared the link in the chat box. Thank you. Hello, Mansi ma'am. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, Shobh, you're audible.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Shubh Parmar, your host for today's webinar. My team and I are here to make sure you have a seamless and engaging experience. If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to use the chat window. We are here to help. So, the topic for today is Introduction to Azure AI Services, Building Intelligent Applications. So, this webinar is hosted by the ATC community, a hub for enthusiasts passionate about cloud technologies, AI, machine learning, IoT, open source development, and DevOps. Today's event is sponsored by Synergetics. Synergetics is a leading edge learning solutions provider in India, offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end to end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. These are the learning solutions which are offered by Synergetics. These are the 12 learning solutions you can see on the screen. This is the Microsoft certification skilling journey. The journey begins with the fundamental certification, then progresses to advanced role based certifications, and finally to expert level certifications. We run communities on Meetup. This is the emerging technology community. Anyone who are eager to learn about technological knowledge can join this community on Meetup. We have multiple communities in Pune, Gujarat, Nagpur, and Indore. Those who are interested to join this community, please log into Meetup app and gain your knowledge for free. Uh, we are thrilled to have Mansi Sahane as our today's speaker. She is an IoT data analytics and ML consultant and trainer associated with Synergetics. She is a very capable consultant experienced in training and skilling, designing learning curriculums, and mentoring professionals in various organizations. She is a learning consultant, content developer, corporate trainer, moderator, and multitude years of experience. She has played many roles and provided skilling solutions for multiple organizations as well. The agenda for this webinar is this foundational session introduces AI as Azure AI services, including cognitive services for vision, speech, language processing, and decision making. Participants will explore core AI concepts, real world use cases, and build a simple intelligent application using pre built APIs. This is the learning plan, which includes a 1 day webinar, self learning plan, mentoring and exam prep sessions, and knowledge assessment. As you guys know, we provide a complimentary learning achievement badges for all the sessions we conduct. This this badges which includes an overview of the module topics which are related to this webinar. You can share these badges on the social media platforms like LinkedIn or X profile as well. To get the badges activated, you just need to follow certain steps and redeem the badges. Also, I've also shared the link in the chat box. You have to follow the code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Participants, please note you're not allowed to take the screenshot of the presentation and cannot do screen recording. I would like to take a moment to share some information about the certification workshops we conducted at Synergetics. This Saturday webinars you have been attending are designed to give you a brief overview and summary of the full course content. However, the actual certification training programs of these courses run over 4 days. We are currently offering them at a special discounted rate exclusively for webinar attendees. On my screen, you can see the list of in demand certification courses we are currently focusing on. So the start month for all this will be from November as October has come to an end. For more details regarding this courses, I'll share contact to one of my colleague, Mr. Vivek Balasundaram. You can connect with him for more details regarding these sessions. All right, everyone, it's time for a quick quiz to make a session a little more interactive and fun. We have 5 questions lined up, and each one will test your knowledge of today's topic. Don't worry, it's all about learning. So think of this as a chance to check how much you have picked up. So after each question, quickly drop your answers in the chat box. I request everyone to please answer. You can see the first question. Which of the following best describes Azure AI services? I request everyone to please drop your answers in the chat box. Don't worry, this is just for your learning. just for fun. So quickly drop your answers in the chat box. Which of the following best describes Azure AI services? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yeah, I guess this is too early for the quiz for all the participants. Okay, we'll skip this quiz and we'll jump to the end. So everyone do follow us on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certifications training we do. I've already shared the link in the chat box. Thank you so much everyone for listening to me. Now we'll hand over the mic to a speaker. Mansi ma'am, you can take over from here.
Thank you so much, Shubh, for the introduction. A very good evening to everyone. So welcome to the webinar on Introduction to Azure AI Services. So this is just going to be a quick webinar to understand what is exactly the Azure AI Services, what are the different services on the Azure platform that you can use in order to build AI solutions or build an AI application. So we all know that AI is becoming popular, so that's what we are going to understand in respect to the Azure cloud. So since we don't have many participants for this webinar, let's do one thing. Let's try and wrap it up as soon as possible. Okay, so it was supposed to be a 2-hour webinar, but we'll try and wrap it up, and so that it's a weekend, so all of you all get free early and you all are not caught up over here. So let's start with the webinar. So before we go on to the hands-on and etc., let's just understand the theory, because we all know AI is um, so popular out there. It is nowadays, it is a skill that everyone is looking into, right? Every enterprise, any organization that you go wants employees, wants people who are skilled on AI. Right, exactly. Then what is this AI? What are the different terms that are there in AI? So first let's understand that, and then we will understand AI on the Azure cloud. Okay, so this is what I intend to do, and we will see a couple of demos, very simple demos, not very difficult demos, like how to create a model, what is a model, how to create a model on the Azure platform, what is an AI model, all those things we will see in respect to the Azure AI cloud as well. So let's go ahead and first understand the fundamentals, right? What are the fundamentals of AI? Because we all know if we don't know the fundamentals, then how are we going to work in this AI domain? So now, let's first understand exactly what is AI. Right? We all have been hearing this term. It is becoming so popular. So first, let's understand what is AI. Okay, what is artificial intelligence? Just 1 second, everyone. Yeah. So what is artificial intelligence? Let's just understand that. So artificial intelligence, basically, we all know, is something that basically makes a, first of all, it makes our human tasks that are there simple, right? It is nothing but, just imagine whatever capabilities that a human has, okay, put into a computer system. So that is what basically, in simple terms, in layman terms, is what exactly is artificial intelligence, right? And we all know, if I want to now, even if I want to write essays, I want to click pictures, modify it, right? Or you want to um, predict whether a person should get a loan or not, right? What will be the car price, whether it's going to rain today or not. So all these predictions, normally a human does. There is a human who is sitting, person who has expertise in that domain. Like if somebody has to get a loan, so that person will go to the bank and there will be a human who will determine, okay, these are the factors, okay, that the person has. Should I give him a loan or not? So instead of a human sitting, if I feed this information, I tell the, I give it to a system and I tell the system, okay, you tell me whether this person should get a loan or not, whether it's going to rain or not, what is the weather going to look like. So all that, whether when we flip a coin, is it going to be a head? Is it going to be a tail? What will be the stock prices tomorrow? Can you predict that? What will be the car price? Right? All that prediction, all that inferring that we want to do via computer system is nothing but artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is just something that is going to make our task easy, looks at humans to is wanting to reduce the human effort, human interference by putting everything into the system, right? Now, if I want to perform these tasks, I told you I need to give it to I need to give it, or when we talked about these scenarios out there, like I told you whether a person should get a bank loan or not, or whether that person, what is the car price? I want to do that prediction. What is the weather today, right? I want essays to be generated. I want images to be generated nowadays. So all these things, what is happening? Okay, what is the purpose behind artificial intelligence here? There are two purposes basically that artificial intelligence is trying to overcome. Okay, there are two reasons why we use, or two purpose why the artificial intelligence. Am I not audible, Shubh? Hello, Shubh, am
Yes,
I
you are
not
audible,
audible?
ma'am. You are audible very clearly.
So if guys, if you're facing any problem regarding the screen not being seen, or you're not able to hear my voice, please just check your internet connection. Okay. I think there's an issue from your end because everything's fine at my end. So please just log into the meeting. Again, if you're not able to join in, please check your microphones, check your internet connection. If yeah, that is the reason. So, yeah, coming back to the purpose. Now, artificial intelligence has two purposes, okay, in order to be used, in order to reduce that. Yes, one of the purposes to reduce human effort, okay. But when you give, or when you want to, like I said, predict somebody should get a loan or not, infer from or understand the data and see whether it is going to rain or not, whether when we flip a coin, it's going to be either a head or a tail. So, artificial intelligence, why is it being developed? Is to solve two purposes. And the first purpose is for inference of the data, is to infer from the data, make meaning. Okay? It's to is to understand the data. How is the data? Because if I have to predict the weather, right, whether it is going to rain or not, what is the temperature and etc. I need to infer the data, I need to understand the data, come to a conclusion that okay, this is the temperature throughout the week, what will it be the next week. Now these are the factors that the person has submitted for getting a loan, right? So how do I come to know whether that person should be given a loan or not? So I need to infer the data, I need to understand the data, I need to have some conclusion to it, right? So for that, the first purpose of artificial intelligence is, Nancy, if you are facing a problem, please check your internet connection. The audio from my end is uh, proper. Okay, people are able to hear. You're the only one who's facing the issue. So I would just request you if you could leave the meeting and join the meeting, or check your internet connection. Okay, because it is proper from my end. It's an issue from your end. Okay. So over here, the first purpose is to infer, to conclude the data, conclude from the data what exactly do I have to predict. So the second purpose of artificial intelligence is to predict, is for prediction of the data. Okay, it is the prediction of from that I have to do. Once I've inferred the data, I have understood the temperature, how is it distributed, etc. What should be the, yeah, I've understood all those factors. I've inferred from the data. Now I need to know, right? What is the outcome? What is the target? Whether that person's loan is approved or not, whether it is going to rain or not, what is the car price? All those things I have to predict once I have inferred the data. So this is where artificial intelligence has two purposes. Okay. Now, in order to achieve these two purposes, right, we need to use artificial intelligence, right? And how do I then implement the artificial intelligence over here? If I have to infer and I have to predict the data, how do I basically implement this? So, artificial intelligence is implemented through something called as an AI model. Okay, it is implemented through something called as an AI model. Now, what is an AI model? Okay, so so AI model in technical definition is nothing but statistical representation of real world scenarios. Okay, it is nothing but a statistical representation of real world scenarios. So now if I want to achieve the purpose of artificial intelligence, that is to infer and predict the data. So what will I do? I will take help. Whose help I will take? I will take the help of an AI model. Now, what is an AI model? An AI model is nothing but a statistical representation of real world scenarios, right? So now what is this? What do I mean by this? Now, what is a model then? Okay. So when we talk about a model, now let's consider an example. So let's say I told you the purpose of an AI model is, or of artificial intelligence, is to infer and predict. Now I need to use a model. Now to this model, what do we need to give first? What is it supposed to infer? What is it supposed to predict? It is supposed to predict the data. And based on the data, it will do the prediction. Then only your AI model is going to be doing that, is going to solve your problems. Correct? But if I have to now give the AI model to do the inference and prediction, I need to give some data to it, right? AI model is going to require that. So when we now this AI model, let's say I give some data. So for example, I want to predict, okay, I want to predict the outcome of, or I want to predict the price of a house of houses in my locality. Okay, let's say I'm a real estate agent and I want to, based on the size of the house and based on the location of the house, I want to predict the outcome. What should be the price of the house? Or let's say I want to predict the car price. Okay, so what is the price of the car? So I will give certain factors to it, right? I will give it certain data, and based on that data, it is going to infer and predict the outcome. So let's say I want to predict the house price. So here, let's say I'm going to give it certain factors, certain data. So I'll give the area of the house. Let's say we give it in square feet, right? This is how we measure the area. Then I told you the city it belongs to, the location is going to matter. So let's say the second data that I provide to the AI model is city. And based on these two factors, it predicts the price of the house. Okay, it predicts the price of the house. So over here, sorry guys, I was just sipping some water. Yeah. So here, let's say I have an house whose area or area is, let's say, 100 square feet. Okay, let's say this is 100 square feet, and let's say this house belongs to the city of Mumbai. Okay, there's a house that is whose size is 100 square feet, and it belongs to the city of Mumbai. So let's say I want to predict its price, right? I want to predict the price of this house. So let's say based on the prediction, or after I infer the data, I get a outcome, or I get the prediction that is, let's say 1 CR. Okay, the price of the house is, let's say, 1 CR. Now let's say I have another house whose area is 200 square feet. Okay, and let's say the city is again, let's say the city is again Mumbai. Okay. And based on after I infer the data, I get the price of the house. Let's say it is 2 CR. Okay. Let's say it is 2 CR. Now I have another price. I have another house. I'm sorry. And the area of that house is, let's say, 300 square feet. And again, this house belongs to the city Mumbai. Okay. Belongs to the city Mumbai. Now, can you all tell me what will be the price of the house? Yes, guys, very quickly in the chat, let me know what will be the price of the house. Can you tell me? So for 100 square feet and Mumbai, the house, the price was 1 CR. For 200, Mumbai, it was 2 CR. So can you tell me for 300 square feet and the city Mumbai, can you tell me what will be the price of the house? Yes, guys, what do you think will be the price of the house? So don't you think it will be 3 CR, right? Don't you think it will be 3 CR? Because if 100 square feet Mumbai is 1 CR, 200 Mumbai is 2 CR, that means 300 square feet and in the city of Mumbai has to be 3 CR. So what did I do over here? What did I basically do? I used some logic, I used some maths, some statistics, and then I derived or I predicted the outcome of the house, right? I derived those values based on the values that were there in the past. From that, I inferred the data and I predicted the outcome. So this is what exactly an AI model does. It uses some mathematics, some statistics, and it predicts the outcome using, and it relates. So it is nothing but a life, a real world scenario only. So if I have to predict the price of the house, I have to predict the car price, I have to predict whether it will rain or not. I've taken a photograph. And in that photograph, I want to know whether it's an apple, it's a banana, or it's an orange. I want to know what kind of a fruit it is. I want to determine that. I want to detect that. I want to predict that. So I just have to give it to this AI model, and based on the past database, it is going to infer and predict the outcome, right? And this is what exactly an AI model does. So when we talk about an AI model is nothing but the statistical representation of the real world scenarios. I want to find out whether a person should get a loan or not. Okay. All those things, all those, whatever a human could do. Instead of a human, we are replacing it with a system, with a model. And that model is your AI model. Correct? So this is the simplest definition you can have, okay, of an AI model. Now, when I told you if an AI model has to infer and predict the data, I told you it requires what? It requires data, right? It is going to need data. Without the data, how is it going to predict or infer the outcome? So in order to do that, right, in order to predict the outcome, in order to infer the outcome, we need to give it data. So here we gave the data. Now this data that we give, this data that we give should have some columns and rows. Okay, this data that we give to the AI model so that it uses some statistics or mathematical operations and predicts the outcome after the inference, right? So that data requires some columns, requires some rows. You need to give that. Now, over here, if you recall, when I wanted to predict the price of the house, right? I was using two columns here as my reference, or I was inferring the data from it and I was determining the outcome, that is the price, right? I was getting a target, that is my price column, correct? So what I was doing, I was using square feet and city. So there are two columns that I was using and I had given it to the AI model. And what did AI model do? It used these two columns, the outcome. It understood the earlier, like for 100 square feet, Mumbai, it is 1 CR. It understood this data, inferred that data, and based on that, it did the prediction for the next house, depending upon the size and depending upon the city it belonged to. Correct? So when I give the model data, it's supposed to have columns. Now these columns that we give, okay, the square feet and the city column that we gave in the AI, in context to the AI model, is called as the feature columns or feature column. Okay, it is the feature column. Now, what is a feature column? It is nothing but columns that are used for inferring and predicting the outcome. Based on what? Have I got the price? How did I predict the price? Is based on the feature column. So that is what exactly is a feature column. So feature columns are something that help you in predicting the outcome, based on which you can predict the outcome. Okay, so your square feet, the city that you have, these are the two columns that basically help you predict the outcome, right? Predicted the outcome for you. Then the second column now over here, what did it do? What I told you, AI model's second purpose is to predict the data, right? Is prediction. That is the second purpose of an AI model or artificial intelligence. So over here now, what am I supposed to predict? What am I supposed to predict? Who is giving me that answer? It is the price column. And this price column, when you have in your data, okay, when you have it in your data, is often termed as the target column. Okay, it is often termed as the target column. Now, why target column? As the name says, target. That means this is what the AI model is supposed to predict. So that is why that is the target. So that is why it is called as the target column. Okay, that is why it is called as the target column. So this is how, so this is what basically goes into an AI model. Okay, this is how an AI model is created. So you need to know a lot of, if you have to train. Now, when we talk about an AI model, because all this inference and prediction it is doing, it requires data, like we said. Now, some data, now the data that we gave is the feature column and the target column. And using these two columns, your AI model is going to do the prediction. Correct? But now, if I have to do the prediction, I need to tell how this prediction has to come, or how do you have to predict the data. That means now, for example, over here, I'm conducting a webinar for y'all so that y'all can start your journey in the AI domain, understand what are the services in AI, what are the capabilities of AI, right? What are the tools, what are the different services that you can use on AI? What is your starting journey, or what is the certifications you should look at when we talk about AI? So I am here to guide y'all, to give you all that information so that you all have a clear cut understanding about it, right? You'll understand that, and based on that, you take the decision later. So I'm there as a supervisor, as a guide for you to help you navigate in this AI path, correct? So now, if I have to do the same thing with the model, I need to tell the model exactly what are you supposed to predict. I'm making it aware about it, right? I'm telling it, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. And this is not what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to follow and reach this goal, reach this target. So in order to do that in your AI journey, we need to train a AI model. We need to train an AI model. So training is something where you are telling the model how is it supposed to, what kind of prediction, based on what? Based on, right? Based on what are you supposed to predict the outcome? What is your target goal? Right? All that is something, but no, something that you need to, like how I'm a supervisor, I'm giving you all the guidance. So we need to guide the AI model. And in order to guide that, we need to train an AI model. So in the training, when we are training an AI model, training is generally done in two ways. Okay. When we talk about training an AI model, it is generally done in two ways. One is called as a supervised learning, and second is called as the unsupervised learning. Okay, so training happens in two ways. One is supervised learning, and second is the unsupervised learning. So when we train an AI model, okay, I told you the first example that I gave you all is where there is a guide, there is a teacher who is there, who is helping the students, guide and I mean teach them what they are supposed to learn, what they are not supposed to learn, right? All those, that foundation I'm kind of building and I'm guiding the students. So such a learning where, okay, to put it in terms of AI, where you have both, you have the feature and the target column, okay, that learning is nothing but your supervised learning. So when I am training an AI model and I have both, I have the feature column and the target column in my data. Okay, in my data, you have the feature and the target column. Then such a learning, such a training of an AI model is called as the supervised learning. It is addressed as the supervised learning, where you have both. Okay, you have both the feature and the target column. So this example that I just gave you, right? You have both the feature and the target columns. So that is called as a supervised learning. Now let's say you don't have a teacher, you don't have a guide who's there to help you and guide you as to what should be your final outcome, what should be the prediction. Whether in that image it's a banana, it's a apple, or it's a orange. I don't know. You are completely unaware about your end goal, right? Then such a learning or such a training of an AI model is called as the unsupervised learning, where you have no teacher or no guide to tell you, okay, this is how it is supposed to be done, and this is the outcome. Because if you look at this example, we knew what kind of outcome we have to predict. But let's say here we are totally unaware. So such a learning or such a training when you do on the on the AI model is called as an unsupervised learning. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? That means when you give, because you have to give data to the AI model. So when I give the data, only the feature column is present in the data. So when I give only the feature column and I train the AI model without knowing the outcome, without knowing what is it supposed to predict, then such a training of an AI model is called as an unsupervised learning. It is addressed as unsupervised learning. So this is what basically goes into an AI model. So when we talk about training, because we want the model to act in a certain way to give us certain prediction in a certain manner. So how do I do that? I do it through the supervised or the unsupervised learning. Correct? Now, Before we go ahead and we understand the supervised and the unsupervised learning, let's first of all understand certain workloads. Okay, let's understand certain workloads in the AI domain. Okay, what basically consists or what basically makes the AI. So AI is a very broad term. Okay, it's a very huge, big term that is there. Okay, so this basically is the entire ecosystem. So it starts with AI. The very first thing is AI, and this AI is further broken down into different workloads. It is further broken down into different workloads. I'll just increase this. Okay. Now, when we talk about AI, like I said, it's a broader term. It's a big, I mean, yeah, it's the uh, broader term that is there. Now, within AI, you have certain workloads that is there. So the very first workload that comes into picture is your machine learning. Okay, so machine learning is nothing but the foundation or based on which AI is developed. So if you have to start your AI journey, if you want to get into the AI and you want to start learning from scratch, so the very first thing that you need to understand is that you need to study is your machine learning. Okay, machine learning is something that you need to start with in your AI. So if you want to start with AI, so AI comprises, it's a broader term, it comprises of the first workload, that is your machine learning. So machine learning is the foundation of AI. We will understand what is machine learning in some time. Then the next subset, I would say, of the AI. Once you know the machine learning, the next subset of the AI is called as the deep learning. Because AI is a technology, it's something that is emerging. We all know since ChatGPT came, right? When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, we know that there was a sudden boost to the AI technology. There was everyone was rushing to just use it. Even a layman who never knew what AI exactly meant. They were also using the OpenAI ChatGPT and they were using it for their day-to-day activity. And that is what exactly AI does. Correct? So AI was already there. It was not that AI never was there. It was already there. It was much more technical. But since the past 3 years, since ChatGPT came in, it has revolutionized this technology and it is still emerging. We all know that there are so many companies now investing heavily in just having their own AI systems. People are getting skilled to just know how to develop AI models. Okay. And OpenAI, or since then, the models that they brought in have really brought a change in the AI domain. So it was not that AI was never there; it was always there. It's just that this sudden boom since 2022 has brought this technology further. So it started off with machine learning. Okay, that is why it is the foundation. Then it went into another subset of it, which is the deep learning, because there were certain drawbacks in machine learning which needed to be overcome. And that is what the data scientists, the AI engineers saw, and they came up with a subset to AI, which is called as the deep learning. That is called as the deep learning. That is why the DL. So machine learning had a capability of only handling certain kind of data, right? It only had that capability, but it didn't capture all kinds of data. Machine learning was more of structured data, more of tables, more of files, and etc. More structured data it would manage, but data is just not structured. It is unstructured. Also, we all take photographs. We are talking, right? We are all talking. We are listening to something. There is speech, there is audio, there is videos, right? There is text that people write. There are images that people take. That kind of a data, if I had to analyze, if I had to predict, infer the purpose of artificial intelligence, that machine learning was not able to solve. And that is where the deep learning came into picture. okay, which acts as a subset to the AI. And since deep learning also now there are certain limitations which I will talk about. I will be taking these subsets one at a time, just giving you all an overview of individual subsets, and we will try and relate these subsets, how you can put them or how you can use, okay, if I want to use machine learning, we will try and relate it to the Azure cloud platform. Okay, because that's the topic for the webinar today, right? So we will try and relate it to the Azure cloud as well before we try and understand each of them individually. So that is the deep learning. And since deep learning, then the next subset that came, which is very, very popular today, which which actually revolutionized, like I said, the AI industry, is your generative AI. Okay, it is the generative AI. So that is the last subset that is there, which has made AI more popular, right? So when we talk about AI, it's the very much the foundation of your AI is nothing but ML, then followed by DL, that is the deep learning, and then you have the generative AI. Now, coming to the first subset, let's talk about that. So before we go ahead and we understand each of these subsets, because I want to try and relate it to the Azure cloud. So whenever you start working on the Azure cloud, start using the AI services on the Azure cloud, I will introduce you all to them also. So you need to have a certain foundation, certain knowledge of the Azure cloud, because there are so many clouds out there who offer AI solutions, AI services on their cloud. So one such is the Azure, and you need to understand how to use the Azure cloud and then go ahead and use the AI services on it. So if I want to understand the Azure cloud, okay, you need to have a certain knowledge on the Azure cloud. You need to know, first of all, what is a subscription. Okay, you need to know what is a subscription. So what is a subscription exactly? It is nothing but a billing boundary, right? When we go to the OTT platforms, Amazon, Netflix, etc., we all know that there are certain things that are available for us for free, and certain things only when we pay for it, we get it, right? And who determines that, or what determines that rather? It is a subscription. What kind of subscription have you purchased? Correct? So the first thing, which service can you create? Do you have the money? Because Azure is a pay as you go model. When we talk about the billing part, when we talk about its utilization, so Azure is a pay as you go model, right? So over here, whenever you create any service on the Azure cloud, immediately you have to pay for it. It's like a consumption based model wherein whatever you're consuming, you have to immediately pay for it. So how does how does the Azure decide whether you are able to, or you do have the money to create this service? So that is determined by the kind of subscription you have, whether you are authorized, whether you're allowed to create such a service on the Azure cloud or not, is determined by the Azure subscription. That is the billing boundary. Okay, so this is what is you need to know before you start working on the Azure cloud, because every service, even if you are working on AI, the minimum thing that you have to give is a subscription, is a AI, whether that subscription allows you to use the AI services or not is packaged in it. Okay, so that is why subscription is very important. The second thing that you require on the Azure cloud, once you have the subscription, you want to go create the AI service, right? So that is going to be done. Okay, now let's say you are creating multiple AI services. You want to work with machine learning, you want to work with text, audio, video. Okay, you want to work with generative AI as well. So there are multiple services in the AI system that you want to work with on Azure itself. So instead of having them scattered, having these resources scattered, okay, you can kind of put them into a logical container. You can put them into a logical container, like kind of like a folder you can create where it is grouped at a single location. And that is called as a resource group. Okay, and that is called as a resource group. So a resource group is nothing but like a logical container wherein you can group all your resources, as the name says. So you can group all your resources into a single location, which is your resource group. So whenever you create an AI service, which we will see also when we go ahead, when we come to the demos part after I complete the theory. So the second thing that you will be creating is the resource group, because you have to store this somewhere. Your service has to be stored somewhere, and where is it going to go? In a container, that is the resource group. Then the third thing that you need to give is the region. Okay, what is a region? A region is nothing but an actual geographic location on Earth, because this is cloud. Right? Cloud meaning it has its own services that it provides, and it has its own physical infrastructure like servers, networks, and etc. Okay, which it is placed in a specific region. So Azure on, I mean, on the earth, if I have to talk about, it has some 60 plus regions where all their servers, all their networking, etc. is created. Because when you create this service, somewhere it has to use the physical infrastructure, right? So where it is going to be done, it is going to be done in a region. So you have to determine in which region do you have to deploy your service. It has to be stored on some of the server, right? Where is this resource group going to be created? You have to determine that region. So it is nothing but the actual geographic location on earth. Where do you want to exactly keep your Azure AI service? Whose physical resources are you going to use? Because all of this requires compute, right? When I'm also now conducting this webinar, I'm doing it I'm doing it through my system. So my system requires physical compute, requires power, requires electricity, right? So all those things, all of them need some physical infrastructure. And where is that infrastructure going to be? In the region, store created in on a region. Okay, so there are 60 plus regions that Azure has. So these are the three things, minimum things that you need whenever you create an Azure AI service. And this is what we will also see the next part once I complete. So we are just going to look at the demos, okay, once I complete all the theoretical part that is there. Now coming to the machine learning workload, okay, in your AI. Now what is exactly machine learning? Let's understand that. So machine learning basically is nothing but using a function to predict the outcome. So this is like the actual statistics. It will use actual mathematical formulas, like how in school we used to, oh, I'm sorry. In school, we used to learn about y is equal to mx plus c, or some slope formulas, or all those statistics, derivation, integration, all those logical things, all those statistical things that we used to learn. It is actually going to use that. And using that, it is going to predict the outcome. That is what basically is machine learning. So what is machine learning? It is just going to use some function, okay, a function is going to be used to predict the outcome. Some statistical function is used. Okay, this is the foundation. Okay, this is the foundation based on which you create your machine learning model. Okay, this is the foundation based on which you create your and you train your AI model. So you will give a function, you will give the input to the function. The function is going to determine the or predict the outcome based on the input that you give. So it will calculate certain things and it is going to give you the outcome. So the function is the process. So whatever definition you give to the function, is nothing but the training that you do to the AI model. Okay, it is nothing but the training that you do to the AI model. So this is the foundation of your AI. Now, when we talk about training a ML model, so it changes, the context changes depending on what subset you are using of the AI. So AI model is going to change accordingly. So let's say here I'm calling it as the machine learning or ML, right? So ML model can, like I said, it can be trained in two ways. One is the supervised and the other is the unsupervised machine learning, right? So if I want to do that, so there are two models in supervised machine learning. When we talk about, there are two algorithms because it's a function, it's a statistic. So we also address it as algorithms. So there are two algorithms that you use in order to determine the features and derive the output. So at times, the target column, okay, the target column is also often addressed as the label column. Okay, it is also called as a label column in context to the AI. So over here, if I have to predict or I have to train an AI model, I can do it in two ways. So one is the supervised. So when we talk about supervised machine learning, it can be done using two algorithms because we have to train the function. We have to give a definition to the function. So it is done in two ways. I'll put it here only. There are two algorithms that are there. One is the regression, and second is the classification. So what is regression? What is classification? So here when we talk about supervised machine learning, so both will be provided. That is the feature column and the target column. Okay. So that is the same thing that you do in supervised ML. So you give the feature and the target, right? Now, where is regression used? Where is classification used? Let's understand that. So when we talk about data, okay, when we talk about, because here we have to give the data only, and based on that, inference and prediction is going to happen. So here we have the data. Now, data can be of two types. It can be continuous. Data can be continuous, or it could be categorical. Okay, data can be continuous and categorical, right? Now, what do I mean by continuous? Continuous meaning like how we have the weather, or if I have to determine the temperature. So we know it keeps on changing, right? Something that keeps on changing is not something that I can categorize, right? I can't determine what will be the temperature today, or what will be the car price, or what will be the stock price today. I can't kind of pinpoint or categorize them or classify them. Correct? It is going to change depending on the features that you have. So the car price, if I have to predict, now the car price that I have to determine, it is going to depend upon the mileage the car is giving, what kind of a car it is, make of the car, whether it is a hatchback, is it is it a sedan, or is it a SUV? So, or what kind of fuel it uses, whether it's a diesel car or it's a petrol car. So these all factors or features determine the data, right? Determine the kind of output it is going to give. So the price is also going to change, correct? So that kind of a data, that kind of a prediction that we get is continuous, which is going to change, where I can't pinpoint or I can't give a definite output. There can't be a definite output to it. It is going to change depending on the features that are there. Correct? So that is what is a continuous data where there is no definite, the outcome can be infinite. There can be infinite possibilities for the outcome. So that is the continuous data. Whereas the second kind of data that we get is categorical. Now, what do I mean by categorical? Meaning I can put them into categories. Okay, I can put them into categories. So I can determine, like when we flip a coin, right? Or when we toss a coin, we know that there will be only two possibilities that is, it can either be a head or it can be a tail. Or there is a match that is going on. So if it is a semi-final match, so we all know that it can either be a win for one team and a loss for the other team, right? Somebody will win or somebody will lose, right? When we are attempting, or let's say we want to, we are trying out something, right? Either it can be a success or it can be a failure. Nothing in between. Where we know that, okay, the data or the outcome, whether a person will get a loan or not, that person's loan either can be approved or cannot be approved. Nothing beyond that, right? When we have to categorize that data or put them into categories. So when such a prediction is happening, then that data that it is determining is categorical. It is being put into categories. It is being classified, right? There are classes that you have created. It can only be a head or a tail. The answer to the question can only be a yes or a no. The process that you're doing can either be a success or a failure. Nothing in between. It can't change. There is a definite outcome only, a definite set of possibilities only. It can either rain or it cannot rain. That's it. Nothing beyond that. So such a data that you can predict is called as the categorical data. So when we talk about machine learning also, okay, so if the data that you are working with, the features that you have given is going to give you a continuous output, an infinite set of possibilities, then then if I have to use an algorithm, then I will be using the regression algorithm to do that. Okay, I will be using the regression algorithm to do that. But if I want to categorize the data, if the prediction that is happening, whether a person should get a loan or not, whether the answer to the question is a yes or a no, whether it is a success or a failure, I'm categorizing or classifying the data and I'm predicting the outcome. So such an outcome when I'm predicting is called, or such an algorithm when I'm using to train the ML model, then it is called as the classification model. Okay, it is called as a classification supervised ML model, whatever you want to call it. But now the training is unsupervised also, where there is no teacher, where there is no features that are given, right? So when I have to train a machine learning model that is unsupervised, okay, then I can use an algorithm that is called as clustering, where I don't know exactly what the output is going to be. I have no clue about that, right? I don't know what is going to be the outcome. When I submit an image to it, I don't know whether in that image there's a penguin or what kind of a breed of the penguin it is. I don't know. Or when I am giving or I'm doing a survey, I don't know what will be the output of the survey. Some people can lean towards one question, some response can lean to the other response. I don't know. So over here, what do? We kind of create clusters of that on the data, and then we try and see. Okay, when new data comes in, then we try and put that data closer to the cluster. So what we do basically, it's a kind of a classification only that we are doing. Just that there is no, just that the model doesn't know that what should be the outcome, what should be the target or the label column. It's just that it is totally unaware about it. So when you want to train an AI model, ML model, then you use so machine learning, to put it simply, is nothing but the is nothing but a function. So you use some mathematics and you you define the function and you train a ML model. So now if I want to do this on Azure, okay, if I want to implement this on the Azure, I want to work with the traditional AI, that is the machine learning, then there are services that I can use, or there is a service that I can make use of, which is called as the Azure Machine Learning Studio. Okay, it is called as the Azure ML Studio also at times. Now, within the ML Studio, there are three components that you can use in order to create or train an ML model. Okay. So the first component or the first component that you can use is called as the designer. Okay, it is part of the ML Studio only. It is present in the ML Studio. I'll very quickly show you all also how to create an ML Studio and what is the designer. So you can use the designer in order to train an AI model. So let's say you are from the non-technical background, you have no knowledge on, because honestly, if I have to tell you, if I have to train an AI model, you need to have some coding knowledge. Okay, you need to have some um, coding knowledge. Just 1 second, everyone, just a second. Yeah. So over here, if you don't have any coding knowledge or you have very little coding knowledge, let's say, so and still you want to train an ML model or an AI model. Okay. So you can use this designer studio designer wherein it's like a drag and drop sort of a feature where you can drag and train an AI model and deploy that AI model into production so that an end user can use this model that you have trained on their data. Okay, so you can use the designer, you can use the Python, or you can use the SDK in the ML Studio. So let's say you do have a Python knowledge because that's the language that you need to know. Okay, Python is a knowledge, is a language that is primarily used to train a ML or any AI model you talk about, even generative AI, or you talk about deep learning or machine learning. So all of them use Python to train their AI models. So you can, if you have that knowledge, you can use the SDK, that is the software development kit, and you can train an AI model. Or if you don't want to use the drag and drop or the Python language and you want Azure to basically train a model for you and give it to you on its own, automate that process and give it to you. Just give the data. You decide what kind of uh, training you want to do, whether a supervised or an unsupervised, that's your call. Which algorithm do you want to use? You take that decision and you want that entire process to be automated. Okay, so such a tool, if you want to use in the ML Studio itself, you have is called as the Auto ML. Okay, it is called as the Auto ML. So very quickly, let's just see how you can use this on the Azure in the Azure platform. So I've already logged into my Azure portal. So I will just very quickly browse for it. So I'll just search for Azure Machine Learning. So this is the service. So let's very quickly create it. So I'll create a new workspace for this. And can you see these are the minimum requirements that we discussed, right? You need to give a subscription. You need to give a resource group. So here I'll just create a new one. So I'll just call this as webinar. Just give it a name. And I'll just quickly change the region. Yeah. So here I'll just give a region and you can just simply click on the review plus create button and you can review. I mean, it will just review whether you have the money or the subscription has any money or not to create this service. So that is why it's just doing a quick validation and you can just click on the create button and it will create the service. So it's very simple, right? So this is what you can do for the ML. Now coming to the DL. Okay, so like I said, there is a limitation to ML. It generally works on the structured data more. It's more like a definition of you need to define a function in order to train that model. But in deep learning, now the data, like I said, is not just a structured data or anything. We have images, we have audio, video that we have to work on, speech, text, right? So much of data that is kinds of data that is there that needs to be worked upon. So that is where the ML part fails. And that is why you need another workload of the machine of AI, which is called as deep learning. Okay, it is called as deep learning. So deep learning is nothing but like how we have a human brain, right? The way our human brain is structured, which has neurons, and all those neurons are interlinked with one another, right? So it just mimics that human brain. Like how in the childhood we were all taught how to write our ABCs, right? Or how to identify um, objects, right? Or fruits or anything. So at first we would make a mistake, but we kept on learning and learning, and we kind of created an image of that object, like how an apple looks like, how a banana looks like, how a cycle looks like, how a TV looks like, etc. We have that image fixed in our head, right? Why? Because that brain has been trained on it. It has been continuously training on it, and it has understood that. Correct? So the same thing is what basically deep learning mimics. However, how a brain is structured, the same thing, it uses neurons. Okay, it has a neural network that has been created. It uses that, and it trains on the data that you give. So whenever we talk about working with speech or unstructured data, basically, that is when the deep learning is used. So I think this is deployed. So if you go to the resource, so just launch the studio. And you can see here. So you have the designer, like I said, where you can create a drag and drop sort of a thing. So you have notebooks, that is the SDK, where you can write a Python code and you can train an AI model. You have the automated ML. So automated ML, like I said, you don't have, let's say don't want to do the dragging and dropping or write a Python code. You can just simply use this automated ML and just give your data, decide, select. Actually, it's like clicking on buttons. The interface is is so easy. You just have to click on the buttons, and you can just you can just train and automate and training of an AI model. Okay, so this is how your machine learning studio, ML studio on the Azure you can create. Okay, then the deep learning. Okay, so deep learning is, like I said, it is something that works on the unstructured data, that is your images, audio, video, etc., which uses a neural network, right, to give you the output. Now, if I have to work with deep learning, okay, this is where the Azure AI services come into picture. So this is the traditional machine learning you can work with. But if I want to work with speech, I want to work with images, I want to work with text. In the text, I want to understand the sentiment. I want to extract certain key features, key phrases. I want to build a chatbot. I want to detect the language that is in the text, that is in the speech that somebody is speaking. I want to detect it from that. I want to also, I have certain invoices. I want to automate, I want to basically understand the invoices. What is the final price in that invoice? I have a document. There is somebody who has completed a form. I want to very quickly from that form want to know what is the name of the person, what is the last name, email ID, etc. Somebody has given me a business card. Somebody has written a handwritten note. I want to interpret that note, predict the outcome from it. So in this scenario, we need to use the deep learning, and on Azure, if I have to work, okay, so here also it will do supervised, unsupervised learning only. The training is the same throughout your AI. Okay, keep in mind training is the same, just that there is no names to it, like how in machine learning, okay, algorithms that are being used, because it's all the new, it's all on the neural network. So yes, supervision happens, unsupervised also happens, but there is no names to the algorithms or how it is used. There is no such thing. Of course, there is the process it does or how it implements. You can understand that, but we don't have the time to do that, right? So over here, I yeah. So we will just very quickly we will just see all these services. We will talk about that. Just 1 second. So if I talk about unsupervised training with text data, then I could we could talk about NLP. Okay, NLP, which we will see right now also, I will talk about. So NLP is one way in which you can kind of work with the textual data. Okay, for unsupervised learning that is used is NLP. Okay, so NLP could be an example for it. So yeah, so this is the deep learning, right? So in deep learning now, or when we talk about using the different kind of data. So when I'm talking about working with images, working with audio, video. So when I want to work with images on Azure, okay, there is a service that we can use, which is called as the Azure AI Vision Service. Okay, it is called as the Azure AI Vision Service that primarily the data that it handles, as the name says, vision is something that we see. So it's working with the images. Okay, this particular service works with the images that we have. So that is why it is Azure AI Vision. Then for working with text related data, or if I want to understand the language, basically I want to understand the language. So the process that is used is called as NLP. So NLP is called as the natural language processing. Okay, because we need to train, like I said, unsupervised or whether it's supervised, we need to train an AI model. So if I want to work with language or with text in our AI, okay, then NLP is something that we use to train our AI model. So whenever we want to work with language or text data, NLP is something that is used and it's unsupervised, okay, because we don't know what is going to be the outcome. I don't know what language is going to come, what is the sentiment in that text that we have written, right? So if I want to implement, I want to work with language, then on Azure, we have the Azure language service that will help me do it, okay? Now, let's say I want to work with um, I have certain invoices, I have certain documents that I want to understand, I want to analyze, and I want to predict. So now let's say I told you I give a form. In that form, I want to know the name, the role, I mean the email ID, or let's say somebody has given me a business card. From that business card, I want to predict the name I want to know the name of the organization. I want to know the phone number. Or in companies, there is this something that we call invoice generation. Okay, so I want to so invoice is like billing method that is followed between two organizations, like an agreement between two enterprises. Okay. So from that invoice, I want to find out the billing, what kind of what is the name of the enterprise, what is the final price. Okay. All those things I want to understand. Or let's say in the legal system, right? In the legal system, let's say I have certain case laws. Now, what are these case laws? Case laws are nothing but past judgments, past appeals that people that have been taken in the past. Okay, there are multiple, let's say, There are multiple cases that have happened in the past. So let's say there is a lawyer who comes and he wants to or she wants to refer to one of the case laws, because let's say they have received a case which is similar to the let's say it is similar to the case that has happened in the past. So the lawyer wants to go through certain, wants to know what was the judgment, what were the arguments that were placed by the prosecutor and the defense. Okay, they want to see what kind of judgments were taken. Okay, what kind of evidence was provided. All those things, let's say the lawyer wants to get an information. So case laws, there are so many case laws that are there. And let's say the lawyer has to search for it, has to go and mine for that knowledge. Okay, so there is something called as knowledge mining that it wants to do. So for that also you require services to understand the forms, understand the documents, understand the AI, I mean, search for certain information, right? So just 1 second, guys. So they want to mine that information and of course analyze the forms. So here we can use two services that are there. That is the Azure document intelligence, and second is the Azure AI search. Okay, so the Azure AI search basically works with a workload called as knowledge mining. So whenever, like the example I gave for case laws or in an enterprise, you have a lot of projects that you're handling and you want to know, okay, a similar project has come to you. So you can go to your enterprise data and mine the knowledge from that, so that you have a reference point as to, okay, how do I go about with this project, what were the steps that were taken, okay, what was done at what given point, how long did that particular part in the project take. All that knowledge, if you want to mine, because it will be documented somewhere, right, in your organization, it will be put somewhere, so you want to mine that. So for that you can use the Azure AI search. Okay, you can use the Azure AI search to do that. Then you can also use, now we have to work with speech, just text, images, okay, documents like PDFs or business cards or handwritten notes are not the only thing, right? You need to work with audio, you need to work with speech, right? I need to work with that kind of data also. So on the Azure cloud, if I have to work with it, we have a service called as the Azure Speech. So Azure Speech is going to help you to understand the speech related data, infer that data, predict the outcome for it, perform translation also in certain scenarios, translate the date, translate the speech. So in case you want to, okay, so if you want to predict the outcome, you want to translate the speech. So if you are finding, or you want captions, right, to a webinar, you're not able to understand the language that is being used and you want to generate the captions, transcripts you want, okay, you want to understand whatever is being talk, you want to know about that. So over here, you can use the Azure Speech for it, right? That is the speech service. You can use the Azure Speech. So somebody said anything and you want to even extract key phrases from it. So you can definitely use the Azure Speech service to do it. So this is regarding the deep learning, right? But now we also have the generative AI that is there. So generative AI. So in terms of deep learning, the training of the model over here happens for language service. It is mostly through NLP. Okay. But for when we talk about generative AI, okay, generative AI basically uses a model, or the training of the model, basically, the model that you get in generative AI is called as a large language model. Because as the name says, generative AI. Now, why generative AI? Because in AI, I was able to do a lot of capabilities. Then why generation or why generative AI? What is exactly generative AI then? So over here, so there is a limitation to AI. Okay, there is a limitation to AI that it can be used still. Okay. So we talked about the data it kind of generates, right? We talked about continuous data that is there, right? That AI basically generates. So the continuous data is often, so we have a continuous data that is there, and we have a discrete data that is nothing but the categorical data. Okay. Why? Because there is a definite output that is coming. So we have discrete as the output, right? Or the categorical, it's one and the same thing. And the other output that we have in AI that it generates, it predicts is continuous, correct? It is continuous. So when we talk about discrete, okay, discrete meaning finite or categorical, it's being classified. So when we are working with discrete, now discrete can have two kinds of data it is or predictions that are happening. One is numeric. Numeric meaning now, for example, when you roll a dice, right? When you roll a dice. So we all know when we roll a dice, there is going to be a discrete output apart from the six numbers, apart from 1 to 6. We know there can't be any other output. So that kind of a prediction, if I want the AI system to do, it is called as a discrete numeric prediction that it is doing. So the outcome here is going to be only from numbers between 1 to 6. Correct? Nothing beyond that. So that is why discrete and the outcome is numeric. It's a number. So that is why discrete numeric, right? That is one kind of a prediction it is going to do. The second kind of prediction in discrete AI is going to do is non-numeric, right? It is going to be non-numeric. So now non-numeric is what we discussed at the top, where we know that, okay, this is going to be the finite output. When we toss a coin, it is going to either be the gender is going to either be a male, female, or other, right? Three categories only. Loan is going to be approved or not approved. So it is non-numeric and it is discrete. Yes, no, success, failure, okay? Loan approved, not approved, right? They are finite and it is non-numeric. It can only be either an apple or a banana or an orange. It's a finite output and it's non-numeric, right? That is what AI also generates, the prediction it does, correct? Now coming to continuous, right? Now the continuous can again be numeric, non-numeric, can be numeric, correct? The stock prices, the temperature, the car prices, all that is nothing but numeric, correct? It is numeric data that is being generated. So it is numeric, correct? So that is infinite possibilities. That is why continuous. But when we talk about continuous non-numeric, right, there is no such thing or prediction of continuous non-numeric data in AI. I wanted to predict the YouTube comments, or I wanted to predict to write out a essay on coffee. Something that AI cannot predict cannot have is a continuous non-numeric target column. We don't have that. We don't know what will be the YouTube comments that are coming or who will write what. We can't predict that, right? So there cannot be a non-numeric continuous target column, right? Because these are all target values that are there. So we can't have anything that is a continuous non-numeric data. This is not possible in AI. So that is what is the limitation of the traditional AI. And that is where the next workload or the subset in AI comes. That is your generative AI. So as the name says, generative AI, its job is to generate the data, right? It is to generate data. So generate a text, generate a image, generate. So basically it is nothing but I would actually put it at some advanced NLP model. Okay, it is just using the same thing of NLP, just that it has added some more things which is called as embedding. So I'm not going in that depth, but it has just added while training the model because it has to generate, right? So the generation it is doing on text data only or on images. So in order to generate, it is using a model, and those models is called as the large language models, or we all know it is called as the LLMs. So when we hear about GPT, we hear about Gemini, we hear about Llama, we hear about Copilot. Sorry. So what are those? Those are nothing but LLMs. Different models trained by different enterprises, of course, to do what? Perform generation of the text of the images. And that is what is not possible using the NLP. It is going to use the data that you have provided. Now the target is known or it's not known. So here, the target, we don't know what it is going to be. We can't have a column that is continuous, non-numeric, right? So in this scenario, that is why you have the generative AI. Now on Azure, if I have to perform generative AI, I have to work with LLMs. Okay. There is a service that is being created where actually now what they have done is they have kind of created, they have put in all these earlier. Okay. These services you could use individually, you can still use also, but you can also put them into a single, like how we create a resource group. You can even put them into a single place. Or actually Azure has kind of created a single platform to do all the AI related part. And that platform is called as the Azure AI Foundry. Okay, it is called as the Azure AI Foundry. So when you're working on the AI in Azure, you can create these services as standalone services. Standalone meaning you can use them individually, or you can now also get them on a single platform, which is called as the Azure AI Foundry. So wherever you want to do the non-traditional or the data that you're dealing with is images, forms, PDFs, invoices, images, handwritten note, or speech, or you want to generate anything, then they have created like a single platform, which is called as the Azure AI Foundry. Okay, so let's just see. So we will just now very quickly look at this demo. And once we complete this demo, okay, that is it in the Azure. I want to just talk about the certifications that are there that you can focus on in case you want to do get yourself certified, because we all know certification is something that is very, very important, right? So let's just see how you can work with the deep learning model. So now on Azure, what it has done. So when you want to work with deep learning or generative AI model, or you want to create your own LLM, okay, like I said, you need Python. You need to know Python so that you can customize those models, create your own custom AI model, right? But when you're working on Azure or any of the other cloud platforms that is there, they are using, they have already trained those models. Okay, they have already trained those models. So you don't have to train the model. All you have to do is give your own data to it, use that pre-trained model and find out the outcome, find out the or predict the outcome. So that is what the models are going to do. So these services that I listed down, vision service, language service, document or AI search or even speech, or you also have the translator service. Okay, so they are pre-trained models already available as standalone services or on the Azure AI Foundry. Even when we talk about the LLMs, GPT models, or we talk about DAL-E, we talk about Gemini, Llama, okay, all those models, they are already pre-trained. We are not training it. It's something where we give the data, and based on that, or to a LLM, we give something called as a prompt. And based on the prompt, it is generating the data. Correct? So that is what basically is being done on the Azure cloud. So now if I want to use this, so let's go ahead and create an Azure AI Foundry. So AI Foundry again can be done in two ways. Either you just create a Foundry service, or there is something called as a hub-based project that you create. Okay. So Foundry, so there are two ways in which you can use the Azure AI Foundry portal. So first you create is just a Foundry service. So Foundry service will have all of it, all the AI, all of this, it will be present. Okay, all these services will be present, but it will be a little less secure. So if I have to talk about in terms of security, so this is going to be a little less secure, but the hub-based project is something that will have its own storage, okay, will have its own security. So this will be much more secure. It actually uses another service of Azure, which is called as the Azure Key Vault. Okay, it uses the Azure Key Vault. So that is what basically is the difference between the two. So here I'm going to create an Azure AI Foundry hub-based project. So let's see how to do that. Very simple. So so there is another URL that they have, which is ai.azure.com that Microsoft has created, where everything related to your AI models, okay, the deep learning and the LLMs, they've been put, like I said, on one platform, and that is your Azure AI Foundry. Okay, so over here, you just have to sign in. So the URL is ai.azure.com, right? And you have to just log into it. I'll just very quickly change the directory. Yeah. So here, let's just see a simple example, okay, of how can you use the GPT model, that is the Open AI GPT model. So let's just see. So this is your Azure AI Foundry here. So you can, if you scroll down, can you see you have a lot of models here? So if you go full model catalog, you will see all the LLMs, not just because we all know Microsoft has a tie-up with OpenAI, right? They can use, there's some SLA between the two, and you can use the uh, open AI models using your Azure subscription. So that is also there, but just not that. You also have the other models, like you have Minstrel, you have Llama. If you search for it, you have DeepSeek also. Okay, you can see lots of third-party models also are available over here. So it's just not the GPT or Microsoft's Copilot model, right? That is the custom or the proprietary model of Microsoft for GPT, I mean, related to GPT, right? So you can see those models here, right? So you can definitely use that. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the GPT-4o model of OpenAI, and I'm going to deploy this model. I'm going to use because the model is already being trained. So I'm just going to use it over here. And I'm just going to select use this model. I'll give it a different name. So I'll just call this as, I'll use a different resource group and keep the region as it is. Rest all the other things, I'm going to keep it as it is. Okay, just click on the create button here. And now what it is doing, it is deploying the GPT-4o model. Okay, it's just going to take some time to deploy it. So we'll just wait for it. So if you see, the model has been deployed here. Okay, so this is I mean, it has been created. Now we have to deploy it. So just click on the deploy button. So it has created like I said, you can use the Azure AI Foundry and the LLMs or the AI services that I listed, the deep learning models that are there. So either you can create a project, so you get all the services and security, of course, along with it, or you can just create a Foundry project, and just the Foundry and the uh, AI services will be available to you. So this is the two way. So here we had created the project. This is the project, and within the project, we have deployed the GPT-4o model. Okay, so I'm just going to open this in a background, in the playground, like how we use the GPT. So here there is a prompt. Now, what is this prompt? A prompt is nothing but a question you ask something for it to generate. Okay, so over here you can see clearly there are two prompts. One is a system prompt and one is going to be called as a user prompt. Now, what is a user prompt? User prompt is something that the user gives. Okay, it is the prompt, that the question you ask. Prompt is nothing but the question. Exactly what do you want it to generate? So you're just mentioning that over here. So that is the user prompt. And second is the system prompt. Now, what is the system prompt? System prompt is nothing but, let's say you want to make the response, because once you ask a question to the GPT-4o model, right? What is the weather today, or whatever, any question, generate an essay on coffee for me. So whatever question you ask, you write as a user prompt, there is going to be a response to it, right? So let's say you want a better response. So let's say you are asking, let's say you are asking some historical question. Okay, you're asking some historical question, or let's say you are asking about a itinerary or some travel plans you are making. So if I want to, get a better response, so I ask a question regarding the Indian history. So over here, if I want it to be, I want the response as if it is through somebody's persona. Let's say it's a history teacher who is there, or when we are building a itinerary or travel agency, sort of like, let's say I want a 3-day itinerary to Paris. So if right now, because it has a very generic prompt to it, a system prompt to it, so it's going to give you a very generic answer also. But let's say you want to improve the response. You want a response as if some travel agent is giving you that itinerary, or some history teacher is talking about the Indian history. You want to see the response through somebody else's persona. Then that is what the system prompt does. So if you write a system prompt, you tell, okay, you have to act as a travel agent, you have to act as a history teacher. Then what happens is the responses to your prompts become much better. And that is what exactly is a system prompt. Okay. So over here, you can just write in whatever prompts you want. Okay. So you can just ask a simple question. So in the user prompt, you write, I am planning a trip to Paris in September. Can you help me? Okay. So you can just add in that over here. And you can see it is going to give you a answer response to it, right? So how you can do it, what are the kinds of this thing, right? So here you can ask about certain so you can write some prompts like this. You can also say, can you give me more information about dining options near the first location. So to whatever question you have added, whatever prompt you have written first, you can even write a follow-up prompt. Okay, you can, if you want the response to be better, so you can add in more details also to your prompt. You can add in certain more uh, elaborate the prompt further. So all those things also you can do over here. So you can add a follow-up prompt. So you can see it is giving you a detailed explanation. You can even add what are the top 10 sites to see in Paris. Okay, so you can also alter this. You can say like answer with a numbered list in order of popularity. So let's say you want to do something like this, popularity. So you can just ask, so it will order, okay, which is the most popular sites or visited. Okay, all that information you can see it is giving you right over here. So you can write simple prompts like this, right? And this is the GPT model now around this. You can even create or build an client application. So you can use the same model. And let's say you want to give it, or you want the client or your customer to use this model at their end, right? So you can just develop a application. So for that, you can use the model, any model. Okay, it could be the language model or it could be the vision model. So along with any model you deploy, there is always something called as an endpoint and a key. Okay, there is an endpoint and a key that is always there. So can you see there is an endpoint and a key? So what are these? These are like doors to the model because you want to use this model. So you want the client to come and use that model. So it's like a door, like you're opening the door. So key acts like the uh, safety door. Okay, and the endpoint acts as the address as to where this model is on your cloud so that the client can use this model and use it and write their own data, use this GPT model and whatever prompts they want to write, they can write it. Okay, so this is what basically in any model you train in the Azure portal or whether you train the Azure language service, vision service, whatever you train, okay, you always get a model and an endpoint, which you can build a client application around it. And for that, then you require the Python language. Okay, then you will require the Python language. So this is just an overview, of course, very short, but let's say you want to go in depth. You want to actually learn more about it. You want to actually get into the AI part and you want to work with Azure to work with or use Azure to develop your AI applications, right? So we all know that we require certification for it, and certification has a great deal of value in the market, in the industry. So if you are looking at using the traditional machine learning and you want to get yourself certified on it, so there is a certificate which you can look for. It's called as the DP 100 certificate. Okay, it is called as the DP 100. So it is nothing but the Microsoft certified data scientist associate certificate, which talks about all the data science, all the ML. So primarily it uses the Azure ML Studio and you can get yourself certified, understand how to use the studio to train a ML model. Okay, basically work with AI only, but how to train an ML model. So that this is one certification you can look at. But if you want to work with the generative part, with the deep learning part, okay, and actually work as an AI engineer because this is for a data scientist. But if you want to actually work with AI, the other subsets of AI, then you can look at a very popular certification, which is called as the AI 102 certification. Okay, so this covers all the nuances, all the things on the Azure cloud part. Okay, all that I talked about, it is covered in this particular certification that is the Azure, that is Microsoft Certified Azure AI Engineer Associate. So as it says Azure AI, so you will learn about all the services because these are pre-trained models. Like I said, right, these are pre-trained models. You don't have to train it. You have to just use those models and create or build a custom application around it. Okay, so these are the services, these are the certifications you can look at. So with this, let's end because if I can't go beyond this because otherwise it will be like a training. So I don't want to drag it and let's end it. It's a weekend. So before you leave the meeting, leave the webinar, everyone, Shubh has shared a feedback form in the chat, just requesting you to kindly fill it. Let us know about your experience, about please feel free to share your thoughts about this webinar that we have conducted. Was it insightful? What more details did you want? Right? And in case, guys, you have more queries, more doubts, please approach Shubh, okay, regarding the exam vouchers. Okay, we are Microsoft certified partners. So anything related to that, please reach out to, I think Vivek, not Shubh, but Vivek, who is there. So his details have been put in the chat. So you can definitely reach out to him and they will assist you with it. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you all in the future webinars. So please do not leave the meeting without giving us your feedback. Okay, the forms already shared in the chat. And in case you have completed the feedback and you have no other doubt, no other questions, please feel free to drop off from the meeting and have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mansi ma'am, for the lovely session. I hope everyone enjoyed it and gained valued this session. As requested, please do fill the feedback form and do redeem your learning achievement badges. I have already shared the link in the chat box, as you can see. Once you are done with this, you can end this session and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.